Anyway, while it comes up, I'll just try and take off from where Ramki left. Be it any infrastructure, physical infrastructure, like he was talking about this convention center, the airport, or for that matter, even the e-governance infrastructure in terms of the infrastructure and applications. One really needs an enterprise approach. And what I mean by enterprise approach is, there are three aspects in any of these infrastructures, be it physical or be it, the virtual infrastructures that we are setting up. The first is the conceptualizing and planning phase. The second is the actual build phase, where the eGov applications and eGov services are being built. And the third one is the runtime phase, and when these applications or these services go into production and where citizens can avail of these services. So usually, I have seen the enterprise approach or the transformational approach, one takes into account in planning and in building applications, but one must really think of the enterprise approach when it comes to actually running these applications. What do I mean by that? Take the example of the convention center or the airport. Once it is built and when it has to run, one has to think of managing that, one has to think of securing that. So I'm talking about an enterprise class approach that extends from the planning and conceptualizing stage to the build stage to the runtime stage. And if you want to do that, you have to consider the 4 P's. You have to take into account the best practices, that is the processes. You have to take into account the appropriate technologies or the products that you can, utilize to deliver these services. You have to educate all people. You have to educate all concerned. That is where the government, the technology vendor, the service provider, the consultant, everyone has to work, in sync with each other. That is where the partner part comes in. So enterprise approach is very closely connected to the 4 P's, which I have listed here. And if you really get into the potential value propositions that can come out of any e-governance project, there, as you see here, there is a value which is realized from implementation. You have conceptualized it, planned it, you have built the applications, you have deployed it. But one should also ensure that one follows the path of the green arrow here. One has to keep on increasing that value. And this value has to be sustained over a period of time. So what I am going to do is I am going to give you the key to success in any enterprise class implementation, and that is what I call as the enterprise approach. It consists of the 4 P's, the processes, the products, the people, and the partners that need to come together. So if you talk of the best practices that you are available, you should consider in runtime phase. You have guidance in terms of certain best practices and standards like the ITIL for service management. That is, once you offer service to the citizens, how do you ensure that you are meeting the service levels? There are best practices. There is guidance available. Once you get into systems like land records or systems like the ration card and all that, there would be problems with the internal security threats. You need to protect that. What is going to guide you in terms of processes there? That is where the ISMS, like the information security management standards, like the BS 7799 come in. So you have to have processes in place to ensure that you are able to deliver on that enterprise approach. Then you need to have the right solution set. You need to educate all concerned. That is where the people part comes in, because we were talking about the 5 points which were raised by this, and the procedural also is one of the key aspects. That is where the people and processes come together. And last but not the least, you have to ensure that the implementations are sustained and they are customized according to the different localities or different projects that you might have. So that is what I wanted to articulate my thoughts on the enterprise approach. One has to really have the enterprise approach, not only in the planning and the building stage, but right up to the execution stage, so that the benefits are seen for a long time. Thank you.